All right, so good morning. Today is Wednesday, April 29th. Today we're going to going to continue reading The Lightning Thief. As we know, Percy is on his quest uh, to Los Angeles to meet with Hades. And so far along the way, they've had some problems, but they're going to continue to have some more problems today. So we already know they had a little bit of a problem with Ares. They had some conflicts also with the people that were bringing them there and how they were treating the animals. And today they're going to have a few more conflicts. So we're going to talk about identifying the conflicts in the chapter. So remember, conflict is the problem or what goes wrong in the story. So you can ask yourself, what does the main character want and what is preventing the character from getting what they want? If you remember, there are different types of conflict. There's character versus self, character versus character, character versus nature, and character versus society. So character versus self is a problem they're having kind of in their head with like making a decision or something. Character versus character is when two or more characters are having a problem. It can be a verbal problem, something that they're arguing about, or a physical problem, something that they're like actually fighting about. Character versus nature is something that's going wrong with the world outside around them. Could be with animals in the wild. It could be with tornadoes, volcanoes, any kind of thing that could happen in nature. And then society has to do with like the laws. So today we're going to be reading about those conflicts and we'll go through some examples together and then you'll get to do some on your own. All right. So, chapter 17. We shop for waterbeds. It was Annabeth's idea. She loaded us into the back of a Vegas taxi as if we actually had money and told the driver, Los Angeles, please. The cabbie chewed his cigar and sized us up. That's 300 miles. For that, you gotta pay up front. You accept casino debit cards? Annabeth asked. He shrugged. Some of 'em, same as credit cards. I gotta swipe 'em first, though. Annabeth handed him her green Lotus cash card. He looked at it skeptically. Swipe it, Annabeth invited. He did. His meter machine started rattling. The lights flashed. Finally, an infinity symbol came up next to the dollar sign. The cigar fell out of the driver's mouth. He looked back at us, his eyes wide. Where to in Los Angeles? Your Highness? The Santa Monica Pier. Annabeth sat up a little straighter. I could tell she liked the Your Highness thing. Get us there fast, and you can keep the change. Maybe she shouldn't have told him that. The cab speedometer never dipped below 95 the whole way through the Mojave Desert. On the road, we had plenty of time to talk. I told Annabeth and Grover about my latest dream. But the details got sketchier the more I tried to remember them. The Lotus Casino seemed to have short-circuited my memory. I couldn't recall what the invisible servant's voice had sounded like, though I was sure it was somebody I knew. The servant had called the monster in the pit something other than my lord, some special name or title. The Silent One? Annabeth suggested. The Rich One? Both of those are nicknames for Hades. Maybe, I said, though neither sounded quite right. That throne room sounded like Hades, Grover said. That's the way it's usually described. I shook my head. Something's wrong. The throne room wasn't the main part of the dream. And that voice from the pit, I don't know. It just didn't feel like a god's voice. Annabeth's eyes widened. What? I asked. Oh, nothing. No, it has to be Hades. Maybe he sent this thief, this invisible person, to get the Master Bolt, and something went wrong. Like what? I don't know, she said, but if he stole Zeus's symbol of power from Olympus, and the gods were hunting him, I mean, a lot of things could go wrong. So this thief had to hide the Master Bolt, or had to bite the bolt, and he lost it somehow. Anyway, he failed to bring it to Hades. That's what the voice said in your dream, right? The guy failed. That would explain what the Furies were searching for when they came after us on the bus. Maybe they thought we had retrieved the bolt. I wasn't sure what was wrong with her. She looked pale. But if I'd already retrieved the bolt, I said, why would I be traveling to the underworld? To threaten Hades, Grover suggested. To bribe or blackmail him, or getting your mom back. I whistled. You have evil thoughts for a goat. Why, thank you. But the thing in the pit said it was waiting for two items. I said, if the master bolt is one, what is the other? Grover shook his head, clearly mystified. Annabeth was looking at me as if she knew my next question, and was silently willing me not to ask it. You have an idea of what might be in that pit, don't you? I asked her. I mean, if it isn't Hades. Percy, let's not talk about it, because if it isn't Hades, no, it has to be Hades. Wasteland rolled by. We passed a sign that said California State Line, 12 miles. I got the feeling I was missing one simple, critical piece of information. It was like when I started a common word, what word I should know. But I couldn't make sense of it because one or two letters were floating around. The more I thought about my quest, the more I was sure that confronting Hades wasn't the real answer. There was something else going on, something even more dangerous. The problem was, we were hurtling toward the underworld at 95 miles per hour, betting that Hades had the Master Bolt. If we got there and found out we were wrong, we wouldn't have time to correct ourselves. The Solstice deadline would pass and the war would begin. The answer is in the underworld, Annabeth assured me. You saw spirits of the dead, Percy. There's only one place that could be. We're doing the right thing. She tried to boost our morale by suggesting clever strategies for getting into the land of the dead, but my heart wasn't in it. There were just too many unknown factors. It was like cramming for a test without knowing the subject, and believe me, I'd done that enough time. The cab sped west. Every gust of wind through Death Valley sounded like a spirit of the dead. Every time the brake hissed on an 18-wheeler, it reminded me of Echidna's reptilian voice. So pause. Again, I just want you to be thinking about these things throughout the text. So as we were reading, it kind of started to say that maybe Hades isn't the one in that dream. But who else could it be? Like, I'm trying to think of who else could be the person in that dream. So that's what I want you to be thinking about too. Let's keep going. At sunset, the taxi dropped us off at the beach in Santa Monica. It looked exactly the way LA beaches do in the movies, only it smelled worse. There were carnival rides lining the pier, palm trees lining the sidewalks, homeless guys sleeping in the sand dunes, and surfer dudes waiting for the perfect wave. Grover, Annabeth, and I walked down to the edge of the surf. What now? Annabeth asked. The Pacific was turning gold in the setting sun. I thought about how long it had been since I stood at the beach in Montauk, on the opposite side of the country, looking at a different sea. How could there be a God who could control all that? What did my science teacher used to say? 2/3 of the Earth's surface was covered in water. How could I be the son of someone that powerful? I stepped into the surf. Percy, Annabeth said, what are you doing? I kept walking, up to my waist, then my chest. She called after me. You know how polluted that water is? There are all kinds of toxic... That's when my head went under. I held my breath at first. It's difficult to intentionally inhale water. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. I gasped. Sure enough, I could breathe normally. I walked down to the shoals. I shouldn't have been able to see through the murk, but somehow I could tell where everything was. I could sense the rolling texture at the bottom. I could make out the sand dollar colonies dotting the sandbars. I could even see the currents, warm and cold, streams swirling together. I felt something rub against my leg. I looked down and almost shot out of the water like a ballistic missile. Sliding along beside me was a 5-foot-long mako shark. But the thing wasn't attacking. It was nuzzling me, heeling like a dog. Tentatively, I touched its dorsal fin. It bucked a little, as if inviting me to hold on tighter. I grabbed the fin with both hands, and it took off, pulling me along. The shark carried me down into the darkness. It deposited me at the edge of the ocean proper, where the sandbank dropped off into a huge chasm. It was like standing on the rim of a Grand Canyon at midnight, not being able to see much, but knowing the void was right there. The surface shimmered, and maybe 100 feet above me, I knew I should have been crushed by the pressure. Then again, I shouldn't have been able to breathe. I wondered if there was a limit to how deep I could go, if I could sink straight to the bottom of the Pacific. Why is he able to breathe underwater right now? Why is he able to do this? And why is the shark helping him? Yeah, because his dad is Poseidon, the sea, or the god of the seas. So everything in the sea is going to like be good for him. So let's keep reading. As she got closer, then I saw something glimmering in the darkness below, growing bigger and brighter as it rose toward me. A woman's voice, like my mother's, called, "Percy Jackson." As she got closer, her shape became clearer. She had flowing black hair, a dress made of green silk. Light flickered around her, and her eyes were so distractingly beautiful, I hardly noticed the stallion-sized seahorse that she was riding on. She dismounted the seahorse, and the mako shark whisked off and started playing something that looked like tag. The underwater lady smiled at me. "You've come far, Percy Jackson. Well done." I wasn't quite sure what to do, so I bowed. "You're the woman who spoke to me in the Mississippi River." "Yes, child. I am Nereid, a spirit of the sea. It was not easy to appear that so far upriver, but the naiads, my freshwater cousins, helped sustain my life force. They honor Lord Poseidon, though they do not serve in his court." "And you serve in Poseidon's court." She nodded. "It has been many years since the child of the sea god has been born. We have watched you with great interest." Suddenly, I remembered the faces of the waves off Montauk Beach when I was a little boy, reflections of smiling women, like so many of the weird things in my life. I'd never given it much thought before. "If my father is so invested in me," I said, "why isn't he here? Why doesn't he speak to me?" A cold current rose out from the depths. "Do not judge the Lord of the Sea so harshly," said the Nereid told me. "He stands at the brink of an unwanted war. He has much to occupy his time. Besides, he is forbidden to help you directly. The gods may not show favoritism, even to their own children, especially to them. The god can work by indirect influence only. That's why I give you a warning and a gift." She held out her hand. 3 white pearls flashed in her palm. "I know your journey to Hades' realm," she said. "Few mortals have ever done this and survived. Orpheus, who had great music skill. Hercules, who had great strength. Houdini, who could escape even the depths of Tartarus. Do you have these talents?" No, ma'am." "Ah, but you have something else, Percy. You have gifts you have only begun to know. The oracles have foretold a great and terrible future for you. Should you survive to manhood, Poseidon would not have you die before your time. Therefore, take these, and when you are in need, smash the pearl at your feet. What will happen?" "That," she said, "depends on the need. But remember, what belongs to the sea will always return to the sea." "What about the warning?" Her eyes flickered green light. "Go with your heart what your heart tells you, or you will lose all. Hades feeds on doubt and hopelessness. He will trick you if he can. Make your mistrust your own judgment. Oh, once you are in his realm, he will never willingly let you leave. Keep faith. Good luck, Percy Jackson." She summoned her seahorse and rode toward the void. "Wait!" I called. "At the river you said not to trust the gifts. What gifts?" "Goodbye, young hero," she called back, the voice fading into the depths. "You must listen to your heart." She became a speck of glowing green, and then she was gone. I wanted to follow her down to the darkness. I wanted to see the court of Poseidon. But I looked up at the sunset darkening on the surface. My friends were waiting. We had so little time. I kicked upward toward the shore. When I reached the beach, my clothes dried instantly. I told Grover and Annabeth what had happened, and showed them the pearls. Annabeth grimaced. "No gift comes without a price." "They were free." "No," she shook her head. "There is no such thing as a free lunch. That's an ancient Greek saying that translated pretty well in American. There will be a price. You wait." On a happy thought, we turned our backs to the sea. So pause. That's kind of like an internal conflict that that he's having. Like, what gifts should he trust? We're not going to answer a question about that, but I just wanted to point that out. That's like character versus self. So he's thinking in his head, do I trust these gifts? Do I trust what other gifts that I've gotten? So he's kind of struggling with that throughout the entire story. All right, let's keep going. With some spare change from Aries' backpack, we took the bus to West Hollywood. I showed the driver the underworld address slip I'd taken from Auntie M's Garden Gnome Emporium. but he'd never heard of DOA recording studios. You remind me of somebody I saw on TV, he told me. You a child actor or something? I'm a stunt double for a lot of child actors. Oh, that explains it. We thanked him and got off quickly at the next stop. We wandered for miles on foot, looking for DOA. Nobody seemed to know where it was. It didn't appear in the phone book. Twice, we ducked into alleys to avoid cop cars. I froze in front of an appliance store window because a television was playing an interview with somebody who looked very familiar. My stepdad, Smelly Gabe. He was talking to Barbara Walters. I mean, as if he were some sort of huge celebrity. She was interviewing him in our apartment, in the middle of a poker game. And there was a young blonde lady sitting next to him, patting his hand. A fake tear glistened on his cheek. He was saying, Honest, Miss Walters, if it wasn't for Sugar here, my grief counselor, I'd be a wreck. My stepson took everything I cared about. My wife, my Camaro. I'm sorry. I'm having trouble talking about it. There you have it, America, Barbara Walters turned to the camera. A man torn apart. An adolescent boy with serious issues. Let me show you again the last known photo of this troubled young fugitive, taken a week ago in Denver. The screen cut to a grainy shot of me, Annabeth, and Grover standing outside the Colorado diner, talking to Aries. Who are the other children in this photo? Barbara Walters asked dramatically. Who is the man with them? Is Percy Jackson a delinquent, a terrorist, or perhaps the brainwashed victim of a frightening new cult? When we come back, we chat with this leading child psychologist. Stay tuned, America. Come on, Grover told me. He hauled me away before I could punch a hole in the appliance store window. It got dark, and hungry-looking characters started coming out in the streets to play. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a New Yorker. I don't scare easy. But LA had a totally different feel from New York. Back home, everything seemed so close. It didn't matter how big the city was. You could get anywhere without getting lost. The street pattern and the subway made sense. There was a system to know how things worked. A kid could be safe as long as he wasn't stupid. LA wasn't like that. It was spread out, chaotic, hard to move around. It reminded me of Aries. It wasn't enough for LA to be big. It had to prove it was big by being loud and strange and difficult to navigate, too. I didn't know how we were ever going to find the entrance of the underworld by tomorrow, the summer solstice. We walked past bums and street hawkers who looked at us like they were trying to figure out if we were worth the trouble of mugging. As we hurried past the entrance of the alley, a voice from the darkness said, Hey, you! Like an idiot, I stopped. Before I knew it, we were surrounded. A group of kids had circled us, 6 of them, in all, white kids with expensive clothes and mean faces, like the kids at Yancey Academy, rich brats playing at being bad boys. Instinctively, I uncapped Riptide. When the sword appeared out of nowhere, the kids backed off. But their leader was either really stupid or really brave, because he kept coming at me with a switchblade. I made the mistake of swinging. The kid yelped, but he must have been 100% mortal, because the blade passed harmlessly right through his chest. He looked down. What the? I figured I had about 3 seconds before his shock turned to anger. Run! I screamed at Annabeth and Grover. We pushed 2 kids out of the way and raced down the street, not knowing where we were going. We turned a sharp corner. There! Annabeth shouted. Only one store on the block looked open. Its windows glared with neon. The sign above the door read something like Krusty's Waterbed Plus. Krusty's Waterbed Palace, Grover translated. Pause there. So now, this is our first part of the story that is a conflict. So I'm going to highlight it in yellow. Let's go back up to our example. So it says, what conflict is taking place on page 276 or in the yellow highlight? So the part that we just read. Is it Percy versus Grover and Annabeth? No, they're definitely not in a fight, so I'm actually going to get rid of that one. Percy versus Poseidon? No. He was talking to somebody in the water. First of all, that wasn't Poseidon, and that wasn't even a problem, really. Percy, Grover, and Annabeth versus a group of kids. Definitely. Let's see if there's anything else. Annabeth versus Athena. That is not correct. So, Percy, Grover, and Annabeth are with that group of kids that are trying to hurt them. And they had to run away from them. So that's definitely the conflict there. What evidence is there to support your answer? So I said this. In the text it says, before I knew it, we were surrounded. A group of kids had circled us. Because that proves that they're having a problem with a group of kids. And then I want to look at what type of conflict is this? Character versus self? No, because it's with other characters. Character versus character? Character versus nature? No, there's nothing that has to do with nature there. Character versus society? There's really nothing that has to do with the laws there. So our answer would be character versus character. All right, so we're getting to our next conflict. So this is how you would do it. That's what you're going to do down here. So you're going to have to choose multiple choice, find your evidence, type it in there, and then choose which one it is. So let's see what happens. So they've gotten away from the kids, and now they're at this place called Krusty's Waterbed Palace. It didn't sound like a place I'd ever go, except in an emergency, but this definitely qualified. We burst through the doors, ran behind the waterbed, and ducked. A split second later, the group of kids ran past outside. I think we lost them, Grover panted. A voice behind us boomed. Lost who? We all jumped. Standing behind us was a guy who looked like a raptor in a leisure suit. He was at least 7 feet tall, with absolutely no hair. He had gray, leathery skin, thick, lidded eyes, and a cold reptilian smile. He moved toward us slowly, but I got the feeling that he couldn't move fast if he needed to. His suit might have come from Lotus Casino. It belonged back in the 70s, big time. The shirt was still paisley, unbuttoned, halfway down his hairless chest. The lapels on his velvet jacket were as wide as the landing strips. The silver chains around his neck, I couldn't even count them. I'm Krusty, he said, with a tartar yellow smile. I resisted the urge to say, yes, you are. Sorry to barge in, I told him. We were just, browsing. You mean hiding from those no-good kids, he grumbled. They hang around here every night. I get a lot of people in here thanks to them. Say you want to look at a waterbed? I was about to say, no thanks, when he put a huge paw on my shoulder and steered me deeper into the showroom. There was every kind of waterbed you could imagine. Different kinds of wood, different patterns of sheets, queen size, king size, Empire of the Universe size. This is my most popular model. Krusty spread his hands proudly over the bed, covered with black satin sheets, with built-in lava lamps on the headboard. The mattress looked like an oil-flavored jello. Million hand massages, Krusty told us. Go on, try it out. Shoot, take a nap. I don't care. No business today anyway. I said, I don't think. Million hand massage, Grover cried and dove in. You guys, this is so cool. Krusty said, stroking his leathery chin. Almost. Almost what? I asked. He looked at Annabeth. Do me a favor and try this one over here, honey. Might fit. Annabeth said, but what? He patted her reassuringly on the shoulder and led her over to the Safari Deluxe model, with teakwood lions carved into the frame and leopard-patterned comforter. When Annabeth didn't want to lie down, Krusty pushed her. Hey, she protested. Krusty snapped his fingers. Ergo. Ropes sprang from either side of the beds, lashing around Annabeth, holding her to the mattress. Grover tried to get up, but the ropes sprang from the black satin bed too, and lashed him down. Not cool, he yelled, his voice vibrating from the million hand massage. Not cool at all. The giant looked at Annabeth and then turned toward me and grinned. Almost. Darn it. I tried to step away, but his hand shot out and clamped around my neck. Whoa, kid. Don't worry, we'll find you one in a sec. Let my friends go. Oh, sure I will. But I gotta make 'em fit first. What do you mean? All the beds are exactly 6 feet. See? Your friends are too short. Gotta make them fit. Annabeth and Grover kept struggling. We can't stand in perfect measurements, Krusty muttered. Ergo. A new set of ropes leapt out from the top and the bottom of the beds, wrapping around Grover and Annabeth's ankles, and then around their armpits. The rope started tightening, pulling my friends from both ends. Don't worry, Krusty told me. These are stretching jobs, maybe 3 extra inches on their spines. They might even live. Now why don't we find you a bed, huh? Percy! Grover yelled. My mind was racing. I knew I couldn't take on this giant waterbed salesman alone. He would snap my neck before I ever got my sword out. Your real name's not Krusty, is it? I asked. Legally, it's Procrustes, he admitted. The stretcher, I said. I remembered the story, the giant who tried to kill Theseus with excess hospitality on his way to Athens. Yeah, the salesman said, but who can pronounce Procrustes? Bad for business. Now, Krusty, anybody can say that. You're right. It's got a good ring to it. His eyes lit up. You think so? Oh, absolutely, I said. And the workmanship on these beds, fabulous. He grinned hugely, but his fingers didn't loosen on my neck. I tell customers that every time. Nobody bothers to look at the workmanship. How many built-in lava lamp headboards have you seen? Not too many. That's right. Percy, Annabeth yelled. What are you doing? Don't mind her, I told Procrustes. She's impossible. The giant laughed. All my customers are. Never 6 feet exactly. So inconsiderate. And then they complain about the fitting. What do you do if they're longer than 6 feet? Oh, that happens all the time. It's a simple fix. He let go of my neck, but before I could react, he reached for a nearby sales desk and brought out a huge double-bladed brass axe. He said, I just center the subject as best I can and lop off whatever hangs on either end. Ah, I said, swallowing hard. Sensible. I'm so glad you come across as an intelligent customer. The ropes were really stretching my friends now. Annabeth was turning pale. Grover made gurgling sounds, like a strangled goose. So crusty, I said, trying to keep my voice light. I glanced at the sales tag on the Valentine-shaped honeymoon special. Does this one really have dynamic stabilizers to stop wave motion? Absolutely. Try it out. Yeah, maybe I will. Would it work, even for a big guy like you? No waves at all? Guaranteed. No way. Way. Show me. He sat down eagerly on the bed, patted the mattress. No waves. See? I snapped my fingers. Ergo. Ropes lashed around Krusty and flattened him against the mattress. Hey, he yelled. Center him just right, I said. The ropes readjusted themselves at my command. Krusty's whole head stuck off the top. His feet stuck off the bottom. No, he said. Wait, this is just a demo. I uncapped Riptide. A few simple adjustments. I had no qualms about what I was about to do. If Krusty were human, I couldn't hurt him anyway. If he was a monster, he deserved to turn into dust for a while. You drive a hard bargain, he told me. I'll give you 30% off on selected floor models. I think I'll start with the top. I raised my sword. No money down, no interest for 6 months. I swung my sword. Krusty stopped making offers. I cut the ropes off the other beds. Annabeth and Grover got to their feet, groaning, wincing, and cursing me a lot. You look taller, I said. Very funny, Annabeth said. Be faster next time. I looked at the bulletin board behind Krusty's desk. There was an advertisement for Hermes delivery service, and another for all new Compodium at LA area monsters. The only monstrous yellow page you'll ever need. Under that bright orange flyer for DOA Recording Studios, offering commissions for hero souls. We are always looking for new talent. DOA's address was right underneath the map. Come on, I told my friends. Give us a minute, Grover complained. We're almost stretched to death. Then you're ready for the underworld, I said. It's only a block from here. So, this is the area. I'm going to highlight this all in orange so that you can look back at this when you answer your questions. So this is the section that has the next conflict. So if you look up here for your question, it says, Part A, what conflict is taking place on page 78 to 79? That's in orange highlight. And then you're going to show your evidence, type it in here, and again, tell me what kind of conflict this is. All right, tomorrow we'll read chapter 18, and I will see you then. Good luck. Bye.